Have the Buffalo Bills come full circle on their draft needs? Has Brandon Beane set the stage for something magical? We'll explain all that and more right after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to a special Easter edition of the Nickel City Rush Hour. And Jake, I don't know if you heard, I just got breaking news on my phone. Brandon Beane's apparently working hard on Easter Sunday. I just got this, just came in. Apparently, Brandon Beane and the Bills held a private workout with someone named Esther Bunny. And man, this bunny has some serious hops. And apparently, his 40 is a hair under 3.0. So, dude, I'm all down for it. The Bills are signing this young gentleman. I haven't seen anything about it. I just heard it come in on Twitter. So I'm super excited. How you doing, Jake? Happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter to you, Mike. Happy Easter to everyone out there in the chat. I heard he goes by the name EB.
Yeah.
I actually just read a book to my young one about this, and yeah, he hard to catch, man. I don't know. I think it'd be worth the Bills taking a look at this guy because I'll tell you what, he brings the goods. And listen, I'm about 7 pounds heavier because of those goods, if you know what I mean. So a lot of chocolate today was indulged, and it was a hell of an Easter for me. So excited to be here. And I love Bill's Bunker coming in here hot, saying I'm right about Bar-Bill. Bill's Bunker, Jake, our good friend, he had a chance to come up to Buffalo, Mike, and he let me know he was going to be going to Bar-Bill. And it looks like they did not disappoint. So I'm happy to hear that, Jake. I see you out there in the chat already, brother.
Yeah, Jake, so I was asking in the Discord, and by the way, we do have a Discord. It's absolutely free. Would love all of you to join it at some point in time. The link is in the description of the show to join our Discord. We talk about the Bills. We have a thread for the Sabres. We even have a Chiefs thread. We can make any thread that you want. We have a food thread, but join us. And I love the folks coming in here. Good to see a Trek reviewer. He says that joke was about as bad as Cam Lewis. Good to see you, Sophia.
Nice.
Bill's Bunker, Wump Donkey. Haven't seen Wump Donkey in a while, so welcome back, sir. Good to see you. And Roy says, I found the brown egg in my yard. Turns out it wasn't an egg. Oh, boy.
Oh, no.
Damn Easter Bunny. So, Jake, what are some of those, we were talking about it, what are some of those traditions that you have? And I was happy to hear that you had one that I've had since I was a little kid. So what's something special you do, especially now that you have a little daughter and you have a son on the way? What's one of those traditions you do on Easter Sunday?
Well, you got to wake up and you got to find your basket. That's number one, Mike, right? So you wake up, give a little stretch, right? You head down the stairs, and first things first, listen, we're straight business here, okay? So we play the warm and cold game with little Maxie right now. She's only 2, right? She's 2.5, and she gets a little frustrated when she can't find things. So I already have that in mind as she's looking for her Easter basket. So I'm just saying warmer. And I'm like, you're on fire when she's close. And it took her a minute to find it. I didn't put it in a really hard spot. I wanted to put up a little bit higher too, just because we have a dog and he's a beagle and he will literally eat everything in his sight. So I wanted to make sure that it was high enough. So we had it on like this little table shelf that we have in our office space. And she finally found it. She was super pumped. Didn't put too much chocolate in there just because we knew that we're fortunate enough. My parents and my wife's parents were also going to be providing her with baskets and with a ton of candy. And of course, we're going to benefit from that. And she's not going to eat all of it. So we're eating the majority of it realistically here. And listen, like I said, I probably gained about 7 pounds alone today. and it's not looking great. I hopped on the scale a couple days ago, and I already had that in mind as I'm eating and stuffing my face all day today. So I don't even want to know what it's going to look like tomorrow. But hey, we're back on the grind until next weekend.
I love that, Jake. So since I was a little kid, one of the big exciting things that we did when we woke up, besides going to church, the first thing we did is hunt for our Easter baskets, right?
Yep.
And that's been a thing in my family as I was growing up, and as my kids were born, we kind of kept that tradition going. My 11-year-old and my 19-year-old were looking around for their Easter baskets this morning, and they're terrible searchers. I had to use the hot and cold thing just the same, just like your little girl MVP. So it's pretty funny. I was giving him a hard time. I'm like, so I had to help him because the Easter Bunny hid it. I didn't know where it was. So I had to help him at some point.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
you guys are terrible at searching for baskets. It's right here. So anyhow, it was a lot of fun. And we're on the West Coast, so our dinner is yet to come. We're going to be eating a late dinner at 7 o'clock, which is in an hour. So yes, obviously the rush hour will stick to an hour, but love that tradition. I still once in a while, the Easter Bunny will leave me a basket, and it's the most exciting thing on Easter Sunday for me when I wake up. Did get a basket this year? No, but it's okay.
Hey, I got sponge candy this year, Mike. So
Oh man,
I mean that's a
I saw
Buffalo
you.
staple. Oh, so
I
good.
saw you post that. It's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hey, before we get into the show, first of all, program alert. Program alert. If you are not a fan of Brandon Beane, this show may not be for you. So again, program alert. If you're not a fan of Brandon Beane, not a fan, the show may not be for you. So before we get into that, what do we got here? What's the truck reviewers coming in here? Oh, Roy Collins. When I was a kid growing up, my parents would hide our allowance in plastic eggs. We lived on farm, 5 brothers and usually 2 foster kids. Roy, that's another thing. Obviously, the plastic eggs with the money, that's something that we look forward to as well. My kids, obviously, they're at that age now where money is more important than the candy, but I'm all about the candy. So I get to, steal some of their candy from their baskets.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
Oh, Jake is on his way to looking like Tavondre Sweat. I mean,
Hey,
we may need him.
We call that the drive to 305, truck reviewer. Listen, if I got to go up to one Bills drive myself and hop in and try to play myself a 3-tech or a 1-tech, I'm willing to do so. Okay, it's all good.
Before we dive into this show, I wanted to kind of first time we're going to talk about this. I usually don't. Don't think I've ever, but a couple of ways you can help the channel out here. We're looking to grow. We're looking to cover some expenses and just make the channel better in the long run. So a couple things you can do is first, let me share the screen real quick, is get on over to Big Stitch Embroidery and Apparel. So let me share that real quick. And Jake, I've got a birthday coming up, and I'm telling you right now that this is going to be on my radar. Let me share it real quick. Let's see here, bring it up. That windbreaker there, Nickel City Mafia windbreaker, is amazing, and it's perfect for out here on the West Coast because, obviously we have a little bit warmer weather throughout the year, but always at night, especially where I live, gets a little cool. And this thing would be absolutely perfect. I think it could even work in Buffalo too, right? And if you need something, start with that, put something warmer underneath. But there's all kinds of merchandise on this site. And if you go here and you use the code NCM for Nickel City Mafia 5, you get a discount. What's the percentage on that they get, Jake?
5% discount.
5% discount. So check it out. Pretty cool stuff. Again, that is, my wife usually asks me every year, because the kids always want to give me something. This is what I'm going to be telling them. Look at that thing. It's beautiful.
Hell yeah. And you can do different colors too. I believe that comes in black, gray, and white. So yeah, there are different color options, which is kind of cool. And there's some other stuff on there too. There's crew neck, quarter zips. And then, of course, you got your other Buffalo Bills Mafia staple stuff. And listen, I want to give a special shout out to our guy, Tom. And I feel so terrible about this. I don't know if you saw this, Mike. So our good friend, Tom, who has been a friend of the channel for a few years now, always helps us out, always does his part. he actually won the contest for the Big Stitching Embroidery gift card, the $100 gift card. So he was kind enough, just being the guy that he is. He went ahead and bought us a couple of those buffalo hats you see there with the celery sticks and the wing on them. And I think he got us a couple other ones too. And, he was actually really excited. He dropped them off at what he thought was my house today, left them in the mailbox, and turns out he had my old address. So I am very, I feel so terrible about it. I will be reaching out to those folks. I already sent a message to them. Hopefully they'll get back to me soon and we can get that rearranged so we can get those hats in our possession. Mike, one of those hats was for you, so I'll be sending it your way. And like I said, hopefully we can figure that out quick.
Thank you, Tom. Really appreciate that, man. That was for you.
Tom.
It was what was also funny. He didn't know we had any Nickel City Mafia merchandise when he used the gift card.
Yeah.
But just goes so you don't have to come here and buy the merch from Nickel City Mafia. You got all kinds of other things you can get. And if you have your own logo, I guess we got the KC fan out there, Chad the Chief. Chad, your KC logo would look good on some of this merchandise. So
happy Easter, Chad.
Yeah, lots of good stuff there. The second one you can help out the channel is become a member. Look, I have never said that, never asked anyone to become a member, but it's a thing. And if you, we have two memberships. We have a silver for $2.99 and we have a gold for $4.99. And honestly, they're just about helping us out, helping us grow the channel, helping us, with some of the overhead that it costs to run a channel. And just think about it. Just think about it as buying Jake a coffee once a month for $2.99. You get in that cheap cup at Starbucks. How do you like your coffee, Jake?
I'm not really a coffee drinker, so I mentioned this to you, Mike. Now, my go-to drinks are very sugary drinks, so I'm like a Frappuccino guy, like a vanilla frap guy. The more sugar, the better. And if I'm going with like a tea, I do this like passion tea at Starbucks typically. I'm a Timmy Hose guy myself, but if I ever go to, you asked me Starbucks specifically the one day. And if I'm ever doing that, I'll do the passion tea there, which is kind of good. It is non-caffeinated, which is kind of crazy, but it tastes really good.
Yeah, so there you go. For $4.99 or $2.99, you buy Jake the Starbucks drink, and that's it. Who doesn't want to buy Jake a coffee once a month, right?
Listen, I will.
He's already hyped up on caffeine. We got to get him more hyped up.
Yep, that's right.
What are you going to say, Jake?
No, I was just going to say, I know we mentioned Starbucks, but we are in Tim Hortons territory here, Mike. So we try to tread lightly on that. I'm not going to deny going to Starbucks every once in a while. I think it is a little classier, of course. But listen, this is Tim Hortons territory. There's one on every corner here in Buffalo, New York. It's incredible.
Well, I'm telling you what, Starbucks owns the West Coast.
Yes.
I love that you're loyal out there, but it's all about Starbucks out here. And every morning I'm making a run for the wife. I don't drink coffee myself, but I do make the run for the wife and get her a coffee in the morning. So
love it.
Good stuff there. Happy Easter, William Bisner. Happy Easter to you. And Roy says, I haven't had coffee in 12 years. And
12
Roy,
hours.
Oh, 12 hours. Okay. 12 years. I'm like, okay. Roy, Peeps are fantastic. My favorite thing in the Easter basket are Peeps. He said they're disgusting. Come on, Roy.
Yeah, I'm a big Peeps guy myself. I know that's controversial. I feel like it's a 50-50 thing, but I like Peeps. I'm here for it. The more sugar, the better, like I said.
All right, well, let's get into the show here. Again, thanks. Good to see everybody out there in the channel. So, Jake, about a month ago, a lot of concerns from me, you, a lot of Bills Mafia, losing pieces like Mitch Morse, Ryan Bates, Jordan Poyer, Gabe Davis. There were a lot of holes to fill. And today, or just in this past week, I've been looking at all these signings and thinking about it. And let's go. We've come full circle on our need. And I think Brandon Beane's really set us up for something special. So let's kind of go through it. At first, it was all about the wide receiver, right? We knew Gabe Davis was going to be leaving us, Jake. And we knew that we were going to need to get a number 2. And that was like every time we were doing early mock drafts, we were looking for that wide receiver. And then also somebody that can possibly take over as the number 1 when Diggs hangs it up with Buffalo or moves on from Buffalo. But then Beane goes out and signs Curtis Samuel. And at first, I wasn't too excited about it because, man, I'm like, you just screwed up our first round pick. We wanted a wide receiver, one of those. The wide receiver class is so deep, and there's so many potential stars. But again, when you're drafting someone, Jake, you never know. This is raw talent, right? You can kind of assume they're going to come in and make an impact day one, but you just never know. So the Curtis Samuel pick, to me, was a replacement for Gabe, and I think it's a upgrade from Gabe. And so I'm like, all right, concern has been eased at wide receiver, and now I'm going to look at the next one. But before I move on to the next concern that Brandon Beane took care of, your thoughts on what he did with the wide receiver signing Matt Collins and Curtis Samuel?
I really liked the initial signing of Matt Collins. I was like, all right, perfect. This is a really nice depth piece. I will admit, at first with the Curtis Samuel signing, I did not have that on my bingo card, and I feel like I've said that pretty much every show here about the different signings that Brandon Beane has made. But I think I'm now over the hill, and I'm pretty fired up about it. When you really look at the body of work isn't like insane production or anything like that. It's honestly kind of similar to Gabe Davis numbers-wise, but Curtis Samuel is a totally different type of receiver. He is more of that smaller gadget type receiver. And he's not small by any means. I mean, he's like 5'11", 2-something. And he runs like he's a running back when he has the football in his hands. So he definitely brings a nice yak element. He can go across the middle. He can carry the ball out of the backfield. And he actually had his best season as a pro under Joe Brady in 2020. And he really hasn't had an elite quarterback throughout the course of his career at all. This guy had 1,000 total yards in 2020, 200 yards out of the backfield, and then 800 plus yards receiving. So if that, I guess foreshadows any type of production he'll have this year, then I'm really fired up about it, man. And I think it gives, what do we talk about with Josh Allen, right? Give him more weapons. This is just another weapon. And I understand the contract is large, but also the receiver market right now is super inflated as it is. I mean, I always point this out, but like, Kendrick Bourne got 3 for $33 million. And I definitely think Curtis Samuel is a much better player and receiver than Kendrick Bourne. So, when you look at it, obviously we don't have a whole lot of money to spend. And I understand the point of like, hey, we can get a guy in the first round for even cheaper. And that's still a good possibility if it's the best player available. But no, I really like this move, Curtis Samuel, man. It looks like right now, by the way, according to our lads, he is our starting slot receiver. And I'm not saying that our lads is like the be all end all, but they're usually pretty good with their predictions on the depth chart.
Yeah. And then Roy, getting a little bit ahead of yourself here. We're going to answer that question because I will tell you this: a month ago when I asked the question to Jake, it was a downgrade. Of course, when you lose all those pieces and you don't have the missing pieces filled in, we were definitely a downgrade. But now I'm going to talk about that in a little bit after we get through these other talking points. So Jake, so wide receiver, kind of concern eased. If you look at the wide receiver room right now compared to last year, you can say it's as good as or maybe a little bit better than last year, right? So cool. Wide receiver concern eased. Then a focus, and I've always been focused on the defensive tackle concern. Coming into the offseason, we only had one defensive tackle signed to a contract, and that was Ed Oliver. So what does Beane do? He goes and re-signs Daquan Jones. Wonderful. Love it. I mean, Daquan was a huge piece last year, was having a fantastic year till he tore his pectoral. Actually fought back and came back for us late in the season. So a lot of kudos to him for coming back. He wasn't quite the same, but who would be? We knew that he wouldn't be. But yet he still contributed. I think he came back for the last couple games, including the last game of the year, including the playoff game as well.
Yep, that's right.
All right. So then Beane adds Austin Johnson, and he adds Deshaun Williams.
Yep.
And by the way, Connor McGovern gave Deshaun Williams. Is it Deshaun Williams? Oh, hold on one sec.
Deshaun Williams. Yep, you're right.
Yeah. No. But he was talking about Austin Johnson. That's what it is. So on a show with Eric Woods, Connor McGovern was on a show like this past week. It's about 26 minutes. It's a good watch. And they talked about the signing of Austin Johnson. Connor McGovern went to the same college, so they're alumni. Connor didn't get to play with them, but he had nothing but good things to say about Austin Johnson because Austin moved on right before Connor joined. So Penn State alumni. And then Beane signs Deshaun Williams. And both these guys are kind of the backfill, Puna Ford, Tim Settle, and Jordan Phillips. So you look at it that right now, you look at that interior line, it's pretty much a mirror of last year. And we won't know. Jake, it's hard to say that these guys will be better than Settle, but Settle was not good. Puna Ford, I don't think he got a really good opportunity. I don't know what the Bills were holding back on him, but he was certainly not happy with his, the role that he played. But in any case, right there, those signings kind of eases the concern there. And again, I think you can say we're at least as good as we were. What do you think?
I would say yes. And it's interesting that you talked about Connor McGovern just missing the boat on playing with Austin Johnson at Penn State. So, who did play with him at Penn State and who is basically the same type of player? Daquan Jones. And this is the guy that actually reported the signing of Austin Johnson. They did play together at Penn State. And on top of that, they played together in Tennessee alongside one another. And no one knows this man better than Daquan Jones does. And really, when Daquan Jones went out this past year, we definitely had a void there. We had a player that, we try to figure it out with like Tim Settle and piece it together with Puna Ford and some other guys, and it just wasn't working. It wasn't as effective as having Eddie Oliver and Daquan Jones. So I really like this signing because Austin Johnson is basically the same type of player as Daquan Jones, maybe even a little more athletic because he has played in a 3-4 defense. He's played in the 3-tech. He's played, multiple different positions on the defensive line. So I really like what he brings to the table. And really, I think he's played his best football over the last 3 seasons. So to me, I understand he's a little bit older. I think he's in his late 20s. But I really like what he brings to the table. I think he actually just turned 30. But again, I like what he brings to the table, and it's a really good backup piece for Daquan Jones, and I think he'll still be rotated in quite a bit. So it's exciting. And as far as Deshaun Williams goes, he's very similar in size to Eddie Oliver. So the natural thing is like, hey, you signed a guy to replace Daquan Jones when he goes out or needs a blow. So bring in another veteran such as Deshaun Williams who can do a similar type of thing. So, again, I thought those were pretty solid moves. I didn't love the Deshaun Williams signing at first, but it's starting to grow on me. Maybe that's just because I am an optimistic Bills fan. But overall, I think we're probably at about where we were last year at the defensive tackle position specifically.
Yep, same here. I fully agree. And again, so far so good. Beane's just putting me at ease as he's been making these moves, and he's been getting a lot of them on the cheap. The biggest one he paid out was for Curtis Samuel, of course, 3-year, $24 million, as you talked about. But a lot of these other guys, man, they're $3.5 million or less. So again, just kind of depth pieces from some of the folks that we lost. The next concern was center, right? We lose Ryan Bates. Coming into the offseason, Jake, I had no concerns for that offense. I'm like, we're going to get Mitch Morse. We got Bates as a backup, a nice depth piece. And that line was stellar last year. Stellar. Yeah. Then all of a sudden news comes out that we've moved on from Mitch Morse. First, Ryan Bates is released or traded to the Bears for a 5th-round pick. And then Mitch Morse gets released. So we're like, dang. And then we hear Connor McGovern is moving to center, and David Edwards is currently on the roster, I think, as our starting left guard. Now, I do have concerns about David Edwards. Those could be addressed in the draft, and I'm sure they will be. But everyone who was thinking, and including myself, was like, okay, maybe this is just temporary with moving McGovern over to center until they draft somebody, right? I'm thinking if they draft somebody, McGovern can go back to the left guard where he was so good last year, and now we only have to worry about a center and get one of those top centers. But guess what? If you watch that Eric Woods and you watch that Connor McGovern video, it's clear McGovern knew that at some point when Mitch moved on, he would be going to center, and he's all for it. So that hope that we draft the center, McGovern goes back to the left side, I think that's a pipe dream at this point in time because Connor he used to play center at one point. And I think the feeling I got after watching that video is he's always wanted to go back to center. So he's excited about it. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that video, Jake.
I have not yet.
Right, so check it out. It's Eric Woods, of course, a great center for the Buffalo Bills.
Love Eric Woods.
He didn't he didn't start at center. I think they had him playing
He was
guard
a guard.
initially,
Yep.
right? And then they moved him to center, and fantastic career. But so this is something similar, McGovern. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's almost at about the same time too in their careers where they did make that switch. I think Eric Wood was a little bit younger when he did it, but I mean, Connor McGovern himself is only 26 years old or so. So, obviously, I think right now I'm going to say it's a downgrade at the center position because it's tough to replace the shoes of a guy like Mitch Morse, who is a Pro Bowl center. Now, I don't think that Connor McGovern is incapable of playing that position. I mean, he's done it before in the past. He's even had to do it a little bit in Dallas, I think, at times when there were injuries. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely have my concerns there a little bit. And ideally, we take a really good center in the draft and we were able to keep Connor McGovern at left guard, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but I think you look at both left guard and center right now as it stands, they're probably both, I would say, a little bit of a downgrade at each.
Yeah, a little bit. We don't know. We don't know, right? We thought
Yeah.
Terrell Bernard was going to be a downgrade, and look what happened last year. So
Right.
I mean, when Aaron Cromer, he's been working with Connor since he came over to Buffalo, and they had that conversation, I guess, at the end of the season last year, and he knew whether Mitch played or not. If Mitch went down, he was going to be Mitch's backup, but if Mitch moved on, and he didn't expect Mitch to move on, that came as a surprise to him. He's ready to go. So again, maybe a little bit of a downgrade there, and who knows if one of the great centers, JPJ, fell to us at 28, you might have to consider drafting him and allowing Connor to go back there. But also, it feels like to me, Connor's already looking forward to moving to center.
Yep. I like what Roy says here.
Yeah.
He says Connor McGovern has a stronger base than Morse. Maybe that helps in pass pro. Yeah, that's true. I would definitely agree with that. So, and you know what? I thought at times last year, Mitch Morse, there were some uncharacteristic, pass blocking issues that he had at times where he just didn't pick up the right guy or the center got blown up a little bit. But I mean, I'm not saying he had a bad year or anything like that. And it does happen from time to time, but there were some moments where it almost seemed a little uncharacteristic. And I don't know if that was just due to him, dealing with an injury or whatnot, but I do like what you say here, Roy. So I'm encouraged by that alone. I still think it's a little bit of a downgrade just because it isn't the natural position per se, but hey, I'm wishing him the best, man. And I hope it works out like Eric Wood, because if it does, we get ourselves a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely a downgrade. I mean, David Edwards is a bit of a downgrade for sure. I know he's got a Super Bowl ring, same Super Bowl ring that Taylor Rapp has. And we'll see. But I do think they're going to have to address that. I'm not comfortable with our current situation behind him. We got Alec Anderson. We've got Kevin Jarvis. So I'm not so sold on those guys. So I think we will use one of those 11 picks to address that.
I agree, without a doubt.
So again, Beane making that one wasn't really, that was just out of necessity. And Beane making some moves there to get younger, cut cap, which we needed to. And at first I hated it, but now I'm like, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the light. And I think, you just need to be patient and see what happens there and what they do, because they've got a plan. I mean, Brandon Beane, you can see it now, right? He's been stockpiling the draft picks. We've got 11 of them, Jake. And he's been filling in those pieces. And this is the first position, or the first, group, the offensive line that we said took a little bit of a hit. The other two so far as good as or better than last year. So the next concern, again, we're going full circle here. The next concern was safety, right? And I still have a little bit of concern there. We lose two of the greatest safeties that ever played for the Buffalo Bills, two people that we love dearly, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Now, Micah Hyde hasn't made a decision as far as I know. And who knows? He still hasn't come out. They haven't come out and said if he's retired or not. That's the thought. Unless you've heard something, Jake. Have you heard anything?
No,
any news?
Yet.
Okay.
Nope.
So it's a possibility that he comes back to Buffalo. And when I say that, I would love to get him, of course, with a discounted price, but just to bring that leadership and, help these other guys. I don't think he'd be the full-time starter, obviously, but he'd be able to bring that leadership and help mentor the likes of Mike Edwards. So Brandon Beane signs Mike Edwards to a 1-year deal. Was it $3.5 million for Mike Edwards, I think?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So again, I didn't see much on Mike Edwards. I know Chad and Weston. They said we got a good one there,
Yeah.
and I still have a little bit of concern. But if you look at last year, what was everyone saying? Man, we're old. Jordan Poyer and Hyde, they're looking their age. We need to get younger. And then everyone was a little mad when we let Poyer go, and Micah we didn't let go, but still not having those guys, people were mad. But guess what? We got younger. Jake, we got younger. And I have a little concern there. And if you're comparing this year safety position to last year, what's your thoughts on that? Are we
Well,
the same, downgrade, or better?
it's really hard to say because both of these guys really played in limited capacity last season. But this is what I will say. I think both of them are pretty opportunistic safeties. Now, Taylor Rapp is definitely more of your physical player, and we saw a little bit of that last season. Whereas Mike Edwards is more of your coverage guy, the guy that's going to be super opportunistic in getting interceptions and takeaways and stuff like that. Kind of similar to Rasul Douglas at the corner position, which is great because I think that's something that we've been craving. We didn't see any interceptions really happen with our safeties last year. Almost happened multiple times with Jordan Poyer. But I mean, outside of Taylor Rapp in that Dolphins game, it was a while previous to that we had a safety actually get an interception. So, that's definitely encouraging in itself. And we went from 33 and 32 years old at safety to now 27 and 26 years old at safety. And right now, as it stands, Mike Edwards would probably be our starting free safety, whereas Taylor Rapp would be the starting strong safety. So I think if Taylor Rapp can return to form like he was in LA, I mean, that is a monster upgrade there. But there are still a lot of what ifs around that. And, in this defense, it might be a little different, so I think we have to tailor our expectations a little bit. I'm hoping that he becomes what he was. And then Mike Edwards, I think with him, when given the opportunity, I think he's done a really nice job as a fill-in and just as a playmaker in general. I liked what he did in Tampa, and I liked what he did last year in KC. Came in and played really well for Brian Cook last season, so I'm encouraged by it. I'm still going to say it's a slight downgrade just because of football IQ and overall experience, but I'm optimistic that these dudes can rise to the occasion and be our starting safeties this year.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Jake. Definitely a little bit of a downgrade just because of the leadership, but we're so much younger. I mean, the ceiling's high with those two, whereas the
Yeah.
ceiling with Poyer and Micah Hyde had already been they've already peaked. I mean, they were on the descent of their careers. So let's see what that brings. I still have a little bit of a concern, and I hope they address that in the draft. Of course, I've been all about those safeties, and of course, Beane adds. We lose Tyrell Dodson, who actually had a very good year for us. Got to give him a lot of credit, and he brings in Nicholas Morrow. So another little depth piece, and again, all on the cheap. A lot of these 1-year contracts, but that is a thing these days. What do you got there? I saw you brought something up. So before I move on, my next point there.
Yeah, well, I just saw Battlehawks, Mad Chatter, time for UFL football. All of your aliases. We appreciate you, man. I saw you came in here, said Happy Easter. And also, it was the opening weekend for the UFL, Mike. And I don't know if you saw, but Marquez Stevenson playing for the San Antonio Brahmas, one of the starting receivers on that team and our starting return guy, killed it today. Freaking love it. And Marcel Aitman yesterday, another former Bill who was with us during the preseason this past year, had some incredible catches yesterday for the St. Louis Battlehawks, but they ended up losing that game. The Brahmas ended up winning that game. But I thought it was a pretty solid, strong debut for the UFL. I know the attendance wasn't quite as high as it was anticipated to be, but I'm optimistic for the future of it. And I love that the NFL now has a farm league, and it seems like the level of play is definitely higher with the merging of these two leagues. So I love the direction they're heading in.
Yeah, I mean, I had high hopes for Marcus Stevenson. I was a fan.
Yeah.
I was cheering for that young man. Got put on the IR. Seemed to have a foot injury that kept him on the IR for a while, and just didn't. I think he got a shot a couple times, but just didn't make the most of it and moved on. But he was a speedster, and back when he was with us, we desperately needed that. So Jake, let me go back to my my last point here. So again, all those concerns eased a little bit, and now when I look at this team as a whole, and I ask myself the question, going back to Roy's question, are they as good as last year? Are they worse? Or are they better? And for me, right now, they're the same. Beane has done a fantastic job filling those pieces. And now, come draft day, he's got 11 picks, Jake, and he's ready to do some special things, because now he can say, like you said a little earlier, best available.
Yeah.
Who's going to have the biggest impact? Who's the best available player, whether it be wide receiver, defensive tackle, center? He has those options now, and I absolutely freaking love it. I said freaking. I don't usually say that word, but I said freaking. Well, I'm excited because let's just think about it. I mean, Beane's been planning this. A lot of people don't see that when these moves happen. We did see him accumulate some moves last year as far as some draft picks go. But, dude, 11 picks now. Again, we only have a first. We have one first, one second. We have no third-round picks yet. Most of those 11 come fourth round and on. But I fully expect him to make some moves up the board and just have an incredible draft. And now we can be just like, all right, you're available. Imagine if a defensive tackle like Byron Murphy fell to us, or T'Vondre Sweat, or we were able to get them. That interior line just takes a huge jump up. It elevates big time. And we all know you make that defensive line better, Jake. What does that do? Makes everyone behind you better. The more pressure you can get on these quarterbacks, the run stuff and ability, it just makes the life of everyone behind them better. And Matt Milano's coming back. I touched a little bit on replacing Tyrell Dodson, but that linebacker group is going to be better than last year with Milano back. So that's why I think they're at least at equal ground going into this draft. Let me throw it to you for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I love that. I think you're spot on with that. And, even going back to the safety conversation, like, while I do think in terms of the players, like right now, it could be considered a downgrade. Like last year, I mean, both safeties were kind of a liability. I mean, whether they were healthy too, that was a whole nother question in itself. So, to me, I definitely think we're at least at even with where we were last year heading into the draft. And with 11 picks, I mean, you could do a whole lot of damage here. And I'll tell you what, like, best available at 28 is a nice thing to have. And we don't even necessarily have to trade out of that. We could still take a first rounder and then maybe take some of our late round picks, pile them together and trade up to get a third rounder. So we have a first, second, third consecutively. So I like our chances at being able to take a guy, an absolute dog at number 28, especially with some of these other teams opening up some possible needs for them. And, it's interesting now how these mock drafts are falling, because I have seen our guy JPJ fall to 28 a few times here, Mike. And this is a dude that I thought we would have no chance of getting. So very interesting to say the least.
And Beane could move back to try to get that third rounder back for us. Like, we got cheated out of a third rounder, that compensatory pick that we had, which was looking to be, 99 originally, third round pick. Moved to the fourth round and somewhere in the middle of the fourth round. So kind of got robbed. I did hear Beane or something, Sal Capaccio talking to Beane, and he felt he got robbed there. I mean, he gave his his case as to why. But the NFL didn't overturn that. But still, he claims we got a little bit robbed on that compensatory pick. So I could see you moving back. I've seen mock drafts. I know you've done a couple where you've moved back. And, if it's just move back a couple picks and then you get an additional third, that's fantastic. I mean, it's going to be a hard sell to get, like, how many, do you know off the top of your head? I don't want to put you on the spot here, but do you know the fourth rounds, fifth rounds, sixth round, seventh round picks that we have? You know the numbers on those?
So we have 2 fourth rounders. One's at pick 133. The other's at pick 143. And then I believe we have for fifth, it's 2 fifth rounders at 160 and then 163. And then 6th round and 7th. I'm not exactly sure on what those numbers are. I think 200 was one of them, or 203 or something like that. So yeah. But multiple picks in each of those, which is great.
Right. So you could package up a couple fourths, try to get a third out of it, or you can move back slightly. It depends how the board falls. But, Roy, to your point, a receiver is now back on the board, right? That's what I said. We've come full circle, or we started talking about wide receiver as that first pick. And here we are again now with all the the positions, put at ease, filled, we can go anywhere. We can go anywhere, whether it be wide receiver. And again, I think the wide receiver room is the deepest class. So we could get a great person in the second round, Jake. Even third round. I've seen some great players fall into the third round.
Yeah.
Can't speak today. Brendan Rice, still a big fan of his. So that guy I've seen going in the third. Johnny Wilson. I mean, you got a lot of guys you can probably wait to the third. And we could probably move in the second round, get one of your favorites, Leggett, and somebody else. If we move up the board, I think you're going to have to move up just a little bit to get Leggett.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I would say so. He's probably 40s or 50s right now, in my opinion, which is crazy to say because I still think he is worth that first round grade because he is that good. But it's such a deep class this year, so it's going to be hard to actually creep into that first round for him just because of that alone. There's so many other good guys that I would say are just a little more polished and have a little bit more experience, specifically just playing as an outside receiver in college. He's really only had one good year of productivity there. Prior to that, he was just mainly a return guy. But yeah, I agree with what Roy is saying because when you look at the breakdown of our roster right now, it's Steph Diggs, and then right now slotted as our other outside receiver, our number 2, it's Khalil Shakir, which I think Khalil can do it. He can be an outside guy, but to me, he's definitely more suited as a slot receiver. So it would be nice to get one of these dudes that's really polished in the first round, if that's possible, like a Brian Thomas or, like an A.D. Mitchell. And of course, my guy Xavier Leggett. But I think that first and second round, if you're going to go and take an outside receiver, those are the 2 rounds to do it in, because after that, when you get into like the Brendan Rices, I feel like the development still needs to come a bit with those guys. I feel like Xavier Leggett is like the last guy on that list of like first round worthy receivers, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, we can go anywhere. To me, I'm not going wide receiver in the first. There's a lot of mouths to feed on the Buffalo Bills. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, all the receivers that were coming back from last year, including Khalil Shakir, who's obviously earned more playing time. Obviously.
Yeah.
And then you sign Curtis Samuel, who can also go out to the boundary. So while I want that for sure, I do want another wide receiver because people are talking about we need to be looking at the future replacement for Diggs. So I want that. I'm just not sure in the first round. But again, what I'm saying is Brandon Beane has whatever falls to him, man. And if he wants to see, if he sees somebody that he likes a few spots ahead, we've seen him go 2 or 3 spots, jump up the board. To make it happen. So I'm excited, Jake. I really think.
Me too.
I mean, he's done a fantastic job, and we may not have seen it, but he's put us in position to do something special on draft night and make this Buffalo Bills team maybe the best we've had since he's been with us. So I'm excited.
Would you say this is the most important draft class of Brandon Beane's tenure?
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people are angry with him. They said that he got him in this mess of the salary cap, but I was okay with taking a shot. I'm always okay with taking a shot. Like Jake, you and I have mentioned many times before, if we sold out and we won a Super Bowl, I don't care if the Bills are bad for the next 3 to 4 years because of the cap situation. You saw what the Rams did, and it only took them 2 years to rebound. They sold out. They were over the cap. They had to take their hit the first year coming back. They weren't very good. Super Bowl defending champs. Third year, they're back in the playoffs. So,
and I mean, really, if it's not for injuries, I feel like the Rams, we're not even really having this full conversation about the Rams because Matt Stafford was banged up. Cooper Kupp has been banged up. So a lot of their key players haven't they really haven't been healthy to the fullest extent, at least,
Yeah. I mean, the Bills have just those core players, and it's kind of like I equate it to basketball, like when you had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, and then you had these people around them. And then you had Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and then you had those people around them. So you have those core players, and you just need those additional pieces. And I think, again, going into the draft, where we think we're about the same as last year, just as good as last year's team, a team that was the second overall in the AFC, And when you look back, you're still wondering how we struggled so much last year, and you're still wondering how the heck that happened, but they did it. And now you got a full season with Joe Brady. You have an off season. He's going to be able to institute more of the plays that he wants to run. Dude, I'm telling you, man, I know I'm getting a lot of hate for this, but I'm loving what Beane has done, and I am super excited. I think this is going to be an amazing year, barring injuries. I mean, injuries always kind of throw a wrench in things, but I mean, I'm excited, Jake. I can't wait for draft day.
I am too, and I want to give you just a scenario here, and this might be a hard question to answer, and I want the chat to chime in on this too. So, say the Buffalo Bills stay at pick 28. I'm going to give you 4 dudes that are on the board at this point, right? Byron Murphy is one of them. Jackson Powers Johnson is another one of them. Let's throw in, just to make things a little interesting, let's throw in a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry, because I know cornerback has been another position that has been rumored to be a position of need, but also a position that maybe the Bills will take a little earlier than expected. So we'll throw him into the mix, and then let's throw a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. into the mix.
Ooh,
okay.
Wow.
Out of those 4, right? Out of those 4, who are you taking?
So for me, I'm sticking with Byron Murphy because we need to get younger in the interior defensive line, right? Daquan Jones is over 30. The other guys, I think another one of the gentlemen that Austin Johnson, he's over 30. So we need to get younger, and we need to have somebody long-term that pairs up with Ed Oliver. So I'm sticking with that one. But man, that's a tough choice, but it's a nice position to be in. I could take any of them, and I won't really hurt myself.
Right. It's tough. I mean, it really is a hard question. I like what Sale says here, JPJ. So I feel like there are 2 like generational talents in this first round, right? That could slip to 28. JPJ is one of those guys. The other guy is Byron Murphy. So between those 2, I feel like that's a really hard decision. I understand Mike's point of view here, just because obviously Byron Murphy, man, we got to get younger at the defensive tackle position. Roy brought this up earlier, right? We have 2 30-plus-year-olds at the playing one tech essentially right now, but we also have Sean Williams, who is also 30 years old, 31 years old maybe, and he's the backup to Eddie Oliver. So we definitely have to get younger there, and I get we still have Eli Anku too, but I think he's 29 himself. So I think because of that, I'm going to have to go Byron Murphy, but I totally get the JPJ pick. I love Brian Thomas Jr., but the fact that we could potentially get a guy like Xavier Leggett after that, that's my reasoning for maybe just holding on that. And I'm totally out on corner at first round. I'm really not about
I'm totally out on corner as well. Safety would be interesting, but I'm out on safety first round as well.
Yeah, I've seen like Tyler Nubin. I've even seen what's his name? Oh my gosh, out of Iowa, Cooper DeJean also mocked to us, and he's like a safety corner hybrid almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. I like what Trek Reviewer says. Trade down to 33 and see who's still there. But then you're also passing up on an opportunity to take a guy like Byron Murphy or JPJ, who I really believe are those generational talents. Yep. So to me, I think you stay there and you just got to go with your gut on it. And my gut's telling me, Mike, I think I'm with you on this. I think I'm going Byron Murphy.
Yeah, Trek Reviewer, by the way, he did you see his mock draft that he put in the Discord? Again, I love the Discord, folks. It's absolutely free. Join us. We talk about Bills, Sabres, fantasy football. We got so many channels in there, and it's it's available on your phone, your desktop, your laptop. Get in there and talk, and it's a lot of great people. We don't let people. I mean, everyone that's in there is just super cool from all over the country. And we have some great chats that go on, and so join it. I highly recommend it. And Trek Reviewer posted his draft, and I was like, dude, if the Bills were able to pull that off, book your ticket to the Super Bowl. And I think what he's saying here is, I think what he's saying is he still wants Sweat. Devondre Sweat is not a bad pick at all. For some reason, I still like Murphy a little bit better than him. But if we did move back, Sweat could be available, Jake. If we were to move back just a few spots, we'd probably lose out on some of those other guys you mentioned. But Sweat could be there, and then we get an additional pick. So I don't hate that, but based on your question, I'm going Murphy all the way just to get younger there. And again, like I said, you up the level on that interior line and that defensive line in general. By the way, I do think we need to go edge at some point. That's something we
Yeah.
really didn't talk about. I mean, we lost Leonard Floyd, and even Leonard Floyd kind of fell off at the end of the season. So we need pressure. But if you can get those interior guys bringing the pressure, oh my goodness, watch out. And again, it makes everyone behind them better.
Sure. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Time for UFL football. Who is this? JPJ. So Jackson Powers Johnson. It's hard to say the full name all the time, so we just go JPJ on that. But yeah, he's a center out of Oregon, and this dude is he's a mauler. He is your textbook center. This is the guy that you'll reach for just because I feel like he is that dude that's going to come out and contribute and be a Pro Bowl center immediately. This is your next, like, Creed Humphrey. This is your next, Jason Kelsey. This is your next dude that's going to thrive. And Sean actually made a good point on our other show talking about taking a center in the first round. More often than not, within those first 40 picks, if you're taking a center, it means that they're pretty damn good and they're going to be there for the long haul and they're going to be really, really good in the NFL. So I feel like he's one of those dudes and he fits the bill, and I wouldn't be opposed to it. But we did just talk about Connor McGovern, and I feel like just because defensive tackle is at such an older age right now, probably get younger there.
Yeah. And then just finishing up the chat here. Yeah, Trekevier, like I said, it was an amazing draft. So if you get in Discord, go to the Buffalo Bills thread and you'll see what he did there. And all the picks that he had, he had a couple wide receivers that could be studs, defensive tackle. He covered everything. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, so that was it. I mean, again, Jake, those questions that you answered, he can take it whoever he wants.
I know.
I'm not going to be mad.
I do not envy being in that position, because if he does, hit on a guy, it's great. But if he picks the wrong guy, then he's going to receive some criticism down the line. I think he'll receive criticism regardless, because I feel like my gut's telling me it's not going to be the position that anyone wants. So that's just how it goes typically.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know. Like, usually you have a very good idea, but based on what he's done, I have no clue where he's going to go. But again, I'm super excited that he can go anywhere, and I won't be mad about it. Like last year when he took Dalton Kincaid with the first pick, we were a little taken back. We're like, what the heck? We need Osiris. And of course, Osiris fell to us in the second round. So all worked out there. But I have no clue where we're going to go.
And by the way, I brought up Kool-Aid McKinstry because he did go to Alabama's Pro Day. He went to that over Texas's Pro Day. So I don't necessarily love that. We know our guy, Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, they both are Texas defensive tackles. So that is interesting. I don't know how much that means. Maybe he wanted to do some last-minute evaluation on the Alabama guys. The two Alabama guys I could really see him targeting, maybe three. You could maybe throw Jermaine Burton into the mix, wide receiver from Alabama. But I think obviously Kool-Aid McKinstry would be a guy, and then Chris Braswell, the edge rusher from Alabama. I think those are two guys that are possibilities for the Bills.
Jake, let me ask you this, because we talked about needing edge. If Chop Robinson is available at 28, would you be mad if Beane took him?
I wouldn't be mad. I feel like Chop is very raw still. It's interesting because his pro comp is Micah Parsons, which is insane. I mean, that's a high standard to live up to. I love his size. I love his athleticism. I think he can be a guy, but to me, it's like, it's almost a reach there at 28, Mike. I just feel like right now, this is another issue that I guess I would have too, is the fact that AJ Epinesa just re-signed with us, and I want to see him inserted as the full-time starter at defensive end. So I don't mind taking an edge in rounds 2 or 3, but I feel like taking one in the first round, it almost justifies you having to start him. And I know Brandon Beane doesn't do it. Sean McDermott doesn't do that often where he starts his first rounder, but it just adds a little more pressure to then rotate him into the mix and then take away from AJ Epinesa's playing time.
It's definitely a need, Jake. And again, I don't know.
It is.
What's
Gotta get younger.
What's Chop being mocked at right now? Like,
I've seen him anywhere. I have really seen him anywhere from like 28 at the Bills pick, all the way down to like pick 50. So it's kind of a wide range there.
Man, if he goes on, we don't take him and he becomes another Micah Parsons. Watch out.
I know, right?
but again, I wouldn't hate it, because he's put us in a good situation. And of course, we're all hoping that Von Miller comes back. and is a much better version. We just don't know. What we saw last year, man, it was a huge letdown. And with losing Leonard Floyd, who was our best sack person for the year, and again, I get it with Agent Epinesa, but I still have question marks, man. He has signs of brilliance and then signs where he disappears. And I understand what you're saying. Give him more snap counts, let him be in the game longer, and we'll see more from him. But it's still a question mark, Jake. So,
yeah. So I love what Trek Viewer says here. I was just going to talk about Braswell. So I think if you're going to look at edge as an earlier pick, you go look at that guy, Chris Braswell out of Alabama. He's definitely more experienced. Last year, production-wise, he had 13 sacks. Pretty solid size. I think he's like 6'3", 255. Obviously played at a major program, has experience going up against some top-tier offensive tackles, Amarius Mims being one of those guys. So to me, I feel like that would be my guy. I would take him over Chop Robinson personally.
Interesting. I know I had in our Discord, some folks were talking about Chop Robinson. So again, edge, I wouldn't hate it. And again, Brandon Beane. So we're going to wrap this up, Jake, because my Easter dinner is about to be served. And again, the beauty of what Beane has done, he's put us in a situation where he can take any best available that falls to the Bills at 28. And we won't be mad. We won't be mad because he's covered concerns in different areas. I know you want wide receiver. One, I don't think you'd hate it if he got one of these other guys that we just talked about, a Murphy or a JP.
No, I would not.
And then he took a receiver in round 2, or even
as long as we get my guy, that's all I care about. Okay,
I'm
still on the Xavier Leggett train.
Yeah, Roy, you sold Roy. I mean, he's saying let's take.
I think so.
28.
Yeah, I think so.
And I wouldn't hate it. So again, full circle. We started with wide receivers. That changed as things started. Moves started happening in free agency, and now we're back to talking wide receiver in the first round. And again, best available. So beautiful situation. Great job, Brandon Beane. Again, I said program alert earlier on. For those that do not like Brandon Beane, this may not be the show for you, but I think he deserves a lot of kudos, Jake. And I don't know what you think.
I think he deserves acknowledgement that he's able to fill up a roster and put us in this position to then take the best available. Now, I still think Brandon Beane is a top 5 GM, and I put him probably right at number 5. Okay, I think he's very good. Now, in order to get to that elite stage, like Brett Veach, like Eric DeCostra, I think he's going to have to do something special in this draft. So, really excited to see what happens here. This is probably the most important draft of his entire tenure here in Buffalo. So let's get it done. Let's go get it done. Let's take care of the future and draft some absolute dogs.
Yeah, I agree. He's laid the foundation, the groundwork. He can have something special, but I agree. This is his most important. And if he hits, with 11 picks, you think at least 40% of those will hit. And if 40 hit, heck, or more, oh my goodness, watch out for this Buffalo Bills. Chad, we're coming for you. Weston, we're coming for those Chiefs.
Hey, by the way, they might be taking a receiver in the first round, so we got to consider that too.
Yep.
Interesting situation there in KC. More to come on that. I don't want to speak too much on it because we don't know the full details around Rashee Rice, but we'll see.
They're looking for him. Please, they're looking for him. So anyhow, guys, everyone, I hope you had a great Easter. If you're on the West Coast and like me and you're getting your dinner right now, hope you have a fantastic dinner. Appreciate everyone on the channel. If you're new, please smash that like button for us. Subscribe. I already talked about become a member, help the channel out even more. But we really appreciate all of you out there. It just makes the show so much better. And we appreciate your support. Jake, as always, fantastic. Let's get excited. What's the countdown? When's the draft? What date is the draft start?
Man, we're less than, let's see here. We are how many days away? So tomorrow it's April Fool's Day, by the way. Happy early April Fool's Day. But shoot, Mike, April 25th, right? So we're like 25 days away.
Beautiful.
Crazy.
Just a reminder. So we'll let the channel know. Again, thank you for reminding everyone that it's April Fool's Day. Going to be a lot of pranks. And I'm cooking up one for my co-workers. So I'm super excited about that. I'll tell you how it goes on the next show.
I love it.
So everyone, have a good one. Take care. Go Bills.
Go Bills.